Hi, my name is Nicole McCaskill, and I'm the Community Learning Coordinator for Equipped, Education, Quality Improvement, and Professional Development. And I'm here today to talk to you about truly inspiring outdoor learning environments for infants. One of my most inspiring quotes is from Anita Rui Olds, and she says, "Children are miracles. Believing that every child is a miracle can transform the way we design for children's care. We can choose to change. We can choose to design spaces for miracles, not minimums." And I love this quote so much because I think, unfortunately, often in our field, we go straight to the minimum, what is required. But we know that children deserve so much more than just the minimum. The minimums are important to keep children healthy and safe, but they do need so much more. They need inspiration. They need creativity. They need awe and wonder and respect. And I hope this presentation will do all of this for you today. In a very big world, it must be very overwhelming to be a small infant in such a large space. I think when we take children to parks and play areas outside, they must just wonder, is there anything anywhere that was made just for me? They are young, they are small, they may not be able to move around in the space very well yet, but they are important. And I think we should think more about what spaces do we have for them outside that is just for infants. As we move forward today, I hope to offer you many images and a few video clips that hopefully inspire and reimagine outdoor times and outdoor spaces with very young children. We'll spend a little bit of time thinking about crafting a philosophy and goals for infant OLEs. OLEs stands for Outdoor Learning Environments. We'll also discuss minimum and best practices for infant outdoor learning environments and consider what elements make an engaging OLE versus just a playground for infants and toddlers. What makes it engaging not only for the infants and toddlers, but also the staff and the families? And we want to provide some resources for you to visit after the training. We hear so many different things from many sources about what is safe to do with infants. I thought it might be fun to play a true or false game. So let's get started. True or false? Infants should not go outside in cold weather. How about this one? Observing children closely during outdoor play is important for their health and safety. Next, non-mobile infants do not require gross motor equipment. True or false? I wonder. Outdoor environments for children under the age of 3 years can be designed with inexpensive elements. It's important that infants do not get dirty during outdoor playtime. It takes careful planning to ensure infants can go outside to play every day. Let's find out if we're right. Okay, so let's see if we were right when we thought about those true and false questions. Here are all the truths. Infants should not go outside in cold weather. What do you think? We hear a lot about this. That's actually false. In childcare, we need to use the childcare weather watch chart, use those guidelines, see if it's a safe day to take children outside, and obviously we need to observe the children, we need to know current weather conditions and make informed decisions. And sometimes that can take a team of people to make that decision. Observing children closely during outdoor play is important for their health and safety. Yes, of course. Look for engagement, activity, and any signs of distress. Very young children can get into trouble quietly and quickly, so we want to pay close attention to them and make sure that everybody feels okay while they're outside. Non-mobile infants do not require gross motor equipment. I mean, they're not moving around, they're not rolling over really or crawling. Why would they need gross motor equipment? That's actually false. They do require gross motor equipment. They're growing and developing at a really fast pace each day. They need some space to move and equipment to encourage movement and exploration. It can be simple items like balls or beach balls, attractive, engaging toys and materials that encourage them to move, to reach, to bat, to roll over, to scoot, to crawl, pull up, all the things that infants are learning to do wherever they are in their development. Outdoor environments for children under the age of 3 years can be designed with inexpensive elements. Yes, absolutely true. Simple additions like planters with safe plants, stepping stones, a small log to roll or pull up on really goes a long way in engaging children in active play and engagement. It's important that infants do not get dirty during outdoor play. False. Exploring the natural world allows infants to learn more about the larger environment surrounding them, and it can be a little bit dirty. Allowing them to get dirty while they play outside exposes them to a variety of sensory experiences, which is how we know young children learn best. They learn things such as this is soft or rough or sticky, wet, dry, warm, cool, cold, and the list goes on and on. Finally, it takes careful planning to ensure infants can go outside to play. This is absolutely true. This often requires teamwork among teaching staff, floater teachers, administrators, to ensure that there's a good plan in place every day. And if you're a family child care home provider, there may be some additional steps that you have to think about when you have a multi-age setting, and it might only be you in that environment. So it does take careful planning to make sure infants can go outside, weather permitting, every day. When thinking about planning an outdoor learning environment for infants, one place you may look is a commercial playground equipment supplier. This is a piece of equipment designed specifically for infants, and it retails for $8,900. Interestingly enough, I looked at this equipment a couple of years ago, and the price has gone up $1,000 in 2 years. That's amazing. So we know our playground equipment is just getting more and more expensive. It's certainly an investment piece. When we consider investing in a piece like this, I think it's important to consider, what is the budget and how much do we want to invest in one piece of equipment, and what will this offer the children? What skills will children learn? What sensory experiences are they going to gain? And can they use this equipment without crowding? So if you have a budget that's about $9,000 or $10,000, this may be the only thing that you could get. And would it be enough? And will it challenge them every day for a year or more in using the space? So I think those are the things we have to ask ourselves when we plan. And if you already have a piece like this, a climber, a stationary climber in place, you can certainly add elements around it, as long as it's not in the fall zone, to help naturalize the space and offer other sensory experiences and engagement. And if you don't, you may want to consider other options so you could use that budget in a different way. It's all up to you and how you think about it. As we move forward in this training, we're going to look at some other options and ways you may consider your outdoor learning environment for infants. Every plan definitely needs a strong foundation. And when you think about planning your outdoor learning environment for infants, you certainly want to define what your philosophy is for children's outdoor experiences early in life. I saw this slide from a recent Rooted in Wellness training, and I thought this would be great to bring up during this conversation. And I love the idea of mindsets, having a creative mindset. for your infant outdoor learning environment. We know that early experiences influence later life, and when very young children have the opportunity to be active outside, be curious, learn about discovery versus fear, are taught appreciation and wonder about nature, learn about the importance of conservation. When they have those early experiences with these types of things, they can carry that when they become adults and they make decisions in life. When they are planning for whatever their future work and jobs might be, all of these things can help them later in life. Some other mindsets to think about when children are outside. Can we embrace messiness, getting dirty? How can we be more child-led? Think about the teacher as the facilitator and observer and follow children's lead. Go into this with respect for children's play and adapt with them. An outdoor learning environment is ever changing. Things are always changing in the space, and often it is changing because of what the children are doing. Another great mindset is really thinking about the process of anything they do versus a set product. They can explore, they can create, they can be messy, and there's no end goal other than just straight curiosity, creativity, and learning how things work. I love this mindset. A positive experience is more important than perfect results. And that's certainly true for infants. And we as adults can really encourage their curiosity, and we don't have to worry about whether or not we know all the answers. If young children are curious about things, we can read more, we can look up, we can find out more and have meaningful conversations with them. We know infants are curious. They may have never felt the wind blow on their face for the first time on a windy March day. So we can learn more about the wind, why is it blowing, and just have great conversations with them as they experience. You'll see in some of the clips we have coming up of some really wonderful adult to child interactions with very young infants. And I think they really encapsulate all of these mindsets that we just talked about. When you think about planning that outdoor environment for infants as well, it's certainly crucial to come up with what goals do we have. And not only is it about what goals do we have for the children, but also what goals do we have for staff? They live and work in this environment. And what about families? Could this be a place where families could interact and engage with children and the staff at your program? Being outside is a great place, a great meeting place, and a place to form positive relationships. An example of a goal could be that we want the children enrolled in our program to have a good relationship with the natural world, a sense of wonder and appreciation. We want to build immune systems. What a great goal to have. And having them outside, breathing in the air, being exposed to different things in the environment, different types of weather can help build that strong immune system. Certainly if they're physically active, they're being healthy and building that immune system. Having sensory experiences with the entire body. What does it feel like to be outside? What does it feel like to touch a certain plant or to smell a flower or to see the colors of all the different flowers in a raised garden bed? Or if you're planting vegetables, what does it taste like? For infants, we want them to move in the space. We have goals for them to pull up, to balance, to crawl, roll over, bat things, hang things from the tree, give them wonderful things to look at and view and observe. We certainly want to have space to enhance their gross motor skills. Great goal to have. And we want lots of different loose parts to play with. And for infants, loose parts could be toys you might use inside, could be rattles, music materials or noise-making materials, ribbons, beach balls, small balls, anything really that's of interest that you could use. Anything you use inside, you could certainly do outside, and it can be bigger, louder, messier. And when you're outside, you have so much opportunity to observe and explore nature. You might see ants or worms. Birds may fly over. You could see plant life growing, and you can definitely see firsthand how the seasons change over time. So these are just examples of goals you might have for users in this outdoor environment. Once you have your philosophy and your goals set, the next part of this is making sure that your outdoor learning environment meets all of the requirements for regulation. If you're making significant changes to that outdoor learning environment, certainly you need to contact your DCDEE licensing consultant to make sure whatever changes you're making will be approved and are acceptable. Those DCDEE rules are required. If you participate in the program assessment pathway for your star rated license, it's a voluntary process, but if you do, one of the assessments would be using the ITERS 3 or the Thickers 3. And in that, those scales, they define good and excellent quality indicators that are used in conjunction with the DCDEE requirements. So you want to see, if your space is going to meet those requirements. And then, of course, there are best practice considerations through NAEYC, as well as recommended and encouraged practices from knapsack. So there's many sources and resources of information, and we encourage you to reach out to your local guiding healthy behavior specialist at your local North Carolina Smart Start partnership, your child care resource and referral for training, such as the playground training. You can always contact your child care health consultant, and a wonderful resource is the Natural Learning Initiative out of NC State. They have a great website. We'll look at some images in a minute and some of those resources. And then check out Knapsack Be Active Kids. So there's many ways you can proceed. And we at Equip would love to help as well. If you're in Guilford County, reach out to us. Earlier, we did the true and false game, and some of the true and false questions came from DCDEE rules. I'm not going to read over all of this. I'm just going to encourage you to make sure you visit the DCDEE rules, and if you have questions, reach out to your consultant. Overall, you want to make sure that your outdoor play equipment is age and developmentally appropriate, of course. That you meet the minimum outdoor time daily, and that's at least 30 minutes a day for children under the age of 2. And again, that is a minimum requirement. You can certainly do more, and programs that have a strong nature-based outdoor learning environment often exceed that, even with their infants. We want to make sure that children go outside every day, weather permitting, and there's many resources about what weather permitting is and how that's defined. You want to make sure there's enough space, and that, of course, the equipment is maintained and sufficient for a variety of resources. Another resource that you could also use in conjunction with DCDEE rules, it's even referenced in the rules, is the North Carolina Foundations for Early Learning and Development. You can access it for free online. And the domain you want to focus on for this would be health and physical development. We'll make sure to have all these links for you in your follow-up email. So after this training, you'll get this information, and you'll get a copy of the slides as well. Just as the previous version of the ITERS, which was the ITERS Revised or ITERS R, the new version we're using in North Carolina, ITERS 3 or the I3, and if you're in a family child care home, that would be the Thickers 3 or F3. The requirements are very similar. They may be worded a little differently, and the time requirements are somewhat different because these scales are now completely observation based. So the times have shifted since it's scored based on what the assessors observe only. Just like the previous versions of the scales, it's a 1 to 7 point scale, moving through quality indicators of inadequate, minimal, good, and excellent. I encourage you to use this as a resource, even if your program doesn't choose the program assessment pathway or the rating scales. They're great tools for setting up classrooms and outdoor environment, and you can reference these items. Item 24, gross motor. Item 25, supervision of gross motor play. Item 32, free play. And item 20, nature science, are some great items to pay close attention to. Just keep in mind that, again, children need to go outside every day, weather permitting, for at least 30 minutes, more if you can. And for the I3 or F3, that's going to be 30 minutes during that observation. And to see some really strong guidelines for children and ensuring that your children that you're focused on the health of your young children, check out the Go Knapsack website. I have it listed here, and when you get that copy of the presentation, it will be hyperlinked. But Go Knapsack works with child care providers to improve the health of young children through practices, policies, and environments that instill habits supporting lifelong health and well-being. And now more than ever, we know that we need to set our young children on that path for health and wellness for the rest of their lives. I mentioned the Natural Learning Initiative out of NC State as a great resource for lots of ideas, video clips, handouts, images, you name it. They have a best practice toolkit. It's relatively new at the time of this recording, and this is the early release. Not everything's finished yet. I have the link here, but so many great ideas. And what's fantastic about this is it focuses just on infants and toddlers. So it is so appropriate for this training and a great place for you to go back and revisit some of the ideas that we're going to look at in a minute. But fantastic resource. I'm really excited that this is available to our early childhood educators now. When you have the philosophy, you have your goals set, you've been inspired by pictures, you've looked at websites, you've read information, you've consulted individuals, and now you want to implement certain areas in your outdoor learning environment specific to infants. You're going to see some pictures coming up, and you're going to see some intentionally designed areas with some specific elements. And I just want to point out what those are. I just love this image too, because I see these three young toddlers, you know, who knows what they're talking about, but that one little toddler there, he's so very curious about whatever might be under that log or on that log. And I just have to wonder, is it maybe some ants crawling around or some roly-polies? But they're definitely curious and they're checking it out. So some of those elements that you're going to see are going to be spaces for infants to move, like intentional spaces to really encourage babies to creep, crawl, walk. You're going to see some intentional pathways. You'll see ways to engage all of the senses. Look for color, look for things hanging, look for things that make noise, things that they can touch, manipulate, even some things that they can taste. Also look for some elements where the adults can be comfortable. This is really important. The adults are crucial in this equation. It's not all about the babies. We need adults who are able to sit down, have places where they can engage with infants. Not all adults can get down on the ground very comfortably and get back up again. So are there low seats for them? Are there places where they can hold the babies, non-mobile babies, for example? And have conversations with the babies? And are there places just where the adults feel good? And we know when our adults are happy and feel good, that means happy, contented infants too. Definitely look for natural materials for infants that they can safely explore. We'll look at some ideas of how you can do that as well. And then some commercially produced and recycled loose parts that might work for your infant program. And when you see some of these images, they're rather amazing and beautiful in my opinion, and a lot of people I think would agree. But what we don't want to happen is for you to feel overwhelmed and discouraged, and you think, oh, my outdoor environment looks nothing like that. Or maybe your outdoor environment is just very basic right now. Read through it. Starting small is okay. I about guarantee that just about every program that you're going to see started relatively small with making some simple, small changes. And then over time, they created plans and implemented them. And typically these plans were implemented over many years in phases. So sometimes things will not happen overnight, but small changes can go a long way. Here's an example of a program that had some parents donate some containers and donate safe plants. The NC State has a safe plant list and plants to avoid. So they were able to put different plants to engage young children. Some of your herbs are fantastic for that because they smell good and they feel good, and they're non-toxic, of course. But you can go from just adding small elements of adding natural things to creating a full-scale plan and implementing it over time. So this is a very interesting story. This is the story of a program called Shepherd's Way in Asheboro, North Carolina. They did not have a good place for their infants to play. So they took out, I don't know, maybe 3 parking spaces, a few parking spaces. Let those go, and they created an outdoor space for their infants on their parking lot. And you can see what it looked like before, and now you can see what a great space they have now. I really like how they put up new fencing, and the fencing adds this element of privacy. They have their own little cozy area, and you don't see the cars or kind of the not so attractive view of a parking lot outside. So from an infant's perspective, they're in their own little outdoor world. And there's a nice swing. We talked about adult spaces, and that caregiver might be talking to that infant, or maybe giving that infant a bottle, I'm not sure, but they're having a nice moment. And the other teacher caregiver is on a blanket with many toys with some very young infants exploring. But they're outside breathing fresh air, and I see some hanging plants. I'm sure there are times when the teachers bring down those hanging plants, let the children look at them, and then they can look at them up above. There's some plants lower, and there's some hard surface, and it looks like some soft surface. So even a parking lot, if that's all you have, you might be able to make it work. So the program story is listed on the Natural Learning Initiative website. I've hyperlinked the video so you can see the transformation of that program. If you want to learn more about it, you can click on the link for the presentation and find out what they did and why. Here's a different example of an infant outdoor learning environment with some functional design elements. Notice the hard surface, the pathway, great for those cruising infants to push large trucks, or who are toddling perhaps. They can use their push toys and walkers and things to help them guide their way as they're learning to walk. Soft ground cover. There's planter boxes. There's some storage available, options for play with portable items. Again, some comfortable adult space for those positive interactions. And then there's shady areas and sunny areas. Having shade and sun are important because of the different seasons. You're going to want more sunny areas in the wintertime and then some shady areas in the summertime. And this is the same environment we were just looking at. You can see the planters that they have out. Small, very simple, not a lot to maintain, but certainly very interesting to infants. There's a rocker up on the little deck, a little rocking horse, and then it looks like a little play kitchen perhaps where they can have some messy play. So this is another option. This is a very interesting space because the child care program is located in a small town, and it's actually in a very small shopping center with a restaurant on the other side of the shopping center. So there may only be 3 or 4 separate entities in this small shopping center. And then behind it is natural woods, but in front it's a parking lot, and you can see the town. But what's interesting to me is that this is behind a shopping center, and they created this oasis and really naturalized the space. I like the decking, and you can put, a blanket down, something soft for your non-mobile infants, and they've used the planter boxes as a barrier. And it also, if there's some toddlers playing in the space, because the toddlers are going to have to sort of climb up, so to speak, or step up on the decking, it slows the toddlers down a little bit and allows the adults to make sure everybody's safe. And if there's non-mobile infants or infants that aren't, upright or crawling, to make sure that the toddlers don't accidentally step on the baby. So there's a lot of intentionality in this, I think. So just different ways that you can do this and think about your space. And the theme that I see is that it really doesn't matter how the outdoor environment starts out, but there are changes that you can make over time that can really aesthetically improve and be enhanced over time to make it feel like this beautiful place for children and adults to spend outside. So this is the front of the space for the child care program that's in the small town, and this is the covered area of the shopping center. And you can see that they added that AstroTurf to the sidewalk to soften the space. And this is right outside of where the infants are, so they can come out. It's covered, so even in light rain, they can still come out and use this space. But they really have made it inviting. And just imagine being a non-mobile infant coming outside, being able to play with the baby gym on the quilt, or being in the covered area with the small baby gym. So it's a flexible space. There's many things you can do, and easily changed over time to add interest for those infants. There's plenty of room for mobile infants to crawl around, pull up on the railing, and it still feels very private. I also love the fact that they've used these planter boxes to disguise the parking lot on the other side, almost as a buffer. And I imagine that they probably will add a few more over time too. And once that happens, infants are so small, all they'll see is the flowers and the green. And those planter boxes can be changed. You can add plants that grow in the winter time, and then of course change them out for spring and summer and fall. So it really gives the program a lot of options and a lot of variety for the infants. And these 3 images together really summarizes the options that the adults and the infants, young toddlers, have in their outdoor learning environment. And how lovely is this to have different spaces that you can go. And you can see that you really could spend a significant amount of time outside and just have a lovely experience, learn so much, and escape some of the demands that you can have in an infant program inside. And by demands, I mean sound and noise can be amplified when you're inside. I have noticed from firsthand observation when infants are upset or feeling stressed and crying when they go outside, there's just this calmness that happens. And it even happens with the adults too. Everybody just sort of breathes, and there are new things to look at and see. And overall, everyone just seems more content and engaged in that outdoor environment. So isn't it lovely that they have these options in this program? This is a different program. They wanted to enhance their outdoor learning environment for infants and toddlers. They had planted the large trees, and they have grown over time. I think there's an apartment complex on the other side, or maybe it may be a retirement home for older adults, but it is, this is in a very urban, busy environment in the city. but they've created the space that feels like you're in a very naturalized area. They've used some polywood decking, and they're using those canvas sails to create shade. So it's very handy in the wintertime. Sunlight can be filtered through and you can feel the warmth of the sun in the winter, but during the summer you will have shade and it will definitely be a lot cooler. And one of the things that we recommended for this program too is to have one of the battery operated leaf blowers, a small one, so they're able in the fall, if there's debris and things that fall, they can quickly go out there, blow the debris off of this decking, and have it nice and clean for the infants and young toddlers to use the space. And then of course they do allow some of the natural elements, like if there's leaves that fall, things like that, they'll leave some of that so the children can see the changes in nature and explore those things, because it's always fun to see the difference between a green fresh leaf or a red leaf in fall or a brown crunchy leaf, and talk about the seasons, the changes in the seasons. So again, many opportunities for having conversations and that access to nature authentically in their outdoor learning environment. So in closing the section on design, I think it's important to also think about how design can influence and support meaningful interactions between the adults and the infants. Design really affects how users, whether they're very young or they're adults, interact within the space. For example, regardless of whatever environment we're in, sidewalks and pathways tell us where we can walk. Where is it safe to walk? Beautiful spaces in nature can calm us, relax us. They also can inspire creativity, and by being outside, our senses are fully engaged through smell, sight, hearing, touch, and even taste. When our outdoor environment spaces are pleasing and comfortable for the adults want to spend more time in those environments. And when there are fun things to do, the adults and the infants have much to explore together. And I think that really encourages the adults to enhance those interactions and conversation with our infants who are just learning language. And that's an important piece, because when we're adults, we're used to having back and forth conversations. And with infants, their communication may not yet be verbal, but there's a lot that they give back to us through their expressions, their laughter, their movements and body language. And outside, there can be a lot of back and forth exchange because there's simply so much to do outside and experience. I would like to show 2 clips of infant teachers outside with infants, and they're different ages, some very young, and some approaching a year old, or maybe just slightly over a year old. So while you watch these clips, I encourage you to pay attention to what is happening in the outdoor environment. What does that look like? How does the design impact the interactions? And then what activities have the adults intentionally set up to also engage the infants? So there's this sort of parallel process that's happened. What's always pretty much out in this outdoor environment available, and then this intentionality piece of planning and implementing some activities to encourage young children's engagement in the environment, particularly with natural items as well. So let's take a minute and watch those clips.
Take your hand, look. Ready, set, there you go. Where's it going? Ah! It went away. Ooh. Where's the boat, Brooks? Where did your boat go? Did you squeeze it? Let's wait and drink some water later out of our drinking cups. Ooh. Did you like that? The water can come out. Oh, where's Rob? Rob, you want to play in the water?
Yep.
Rob, you want to play in the water? Or the flowers?
What's that, Robbie? Are you gonna stand up?
So today I've been doing that more. He pulled up this morning on Miss April.
Is that what you want to do, Rob? You want to
He's
stand
been doing big boy things today.
Okay, Rob, hold on tight.
What would you like, Nathan? There you go. You're going to show Rob the flowers? Oh, you got Miss April's knee wet. I know, it felt good. Thank you, Brooks. The water felt nice.
You smell good, Rob. You want to
The
smell?
water felt nice.
You smell good. Roses.
Ooh.
They're pink.
Is the water on your hand?
You can smell them. They smell great.
Ooh.
Ooh, Miss April has thyme in here. Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Genevieve. I couldn't think of what that was smelling this morning.
I think we got a little mint in here.
Mint and thyme. Yeah, that's what I got this morning.
Smells good.
Did you find the green boat? Yeah, what do you see? You want to look up at the branches of the tree? Woo! What do you see up there? Oh, Mallory. Did you see it? You want to see it again? Look. You hold your feet like your brother. Ooh, you see him? Look. How about this one? Ooh. You want to touch it? Did you see the leaves move in the shadow? Ooh, I like that. Isn't that pretty? See the pretty greens? The leaves are green. Yeah, you like it? You want to touch it? Can Mallory use her hand to touch it? Ooh. So pretty. Ooh. You see the sun shining through there? Oh no. I see the sun on your face. Do you see the sun on your face? You gonna get it? Can Mallory touch it? Let me pick you up again where you can get closer? Okay. Ooh. You like looking at the tree? Yeah, the tree is pretty, isn't it? Yeah. Did you catch a camera? Yeah. I know. What? We should do this every day. You think we should do this every day? You stinker? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. What? Oh, good. Oh, good. What? You gonna say something back? Huh? What? What are you gonna say? Huh? What are you gonna say back to Miss April? Yeah, what else can we see to touch? Huh? What else can we find? You wanna see the pine cone? It's more your level. Look. Look at the pretty colors. Look. You're so funny. You are a silly girl. Look, it matches your outfit. You wanna hold it? You wanna hold the pine cone? We put paint on it. Ooh. Ooh. You're not sure? You're not sure about the pine cone? Okay. You just like being up where you can see more? All right. Yeah, what are the boys doing? Gonna put your feet in the sand? It's a little hot for you over here, but we can put our feet in the sand for a minute. In the sand?
Yeah, so
Ooh.
you're smiling.
Ooh, Miss Mallory, look. You can put sand on your toes.
Do you like the way it feels in my hand, Nathan?
So now that you saw the two clips, what are you thinking? What were some of the things that stood out to you in both of those video clips? What did you think about the interactions between the adults and the infants? What types of communication did you see with the infants engaging with the adults? The clips are different. The first clip, the water play clip, is this intentional activity with the adults setting up the environment, setting up the activity, and using that as an invitation for children who are interested. And you can see that Rob in the green and blue striped outfit was engaged with the teacher in the back on the blanket, but then Rob became interested in what his peers were doing in the water table. So the adult was able to facilitate that and help him get to that area. So how is that experience different from the second clip? And in the second clip, they're really using what's out in the environment and just really following the lead of the infants and using that environment for engagement. And isn't it interesting how both work together to expose children to many wonderful activities and help them really learn about the larger world that they're in? Was there anything in these clips that you do in your programs? Or is there anything that you gained from the clips that you were like, oh, I think this is something that we could do? And just to note that this is a beautiful infant and toddler environment, and it took the program a long time to intentionally design this courtyard area. This is a faith-based program. It is housed in a church, and this was a courtyard area. The classrooms open out into the space for the infants, so it is convenient, which is lovely. This did not happen overnight. It happened over time, and they're still working on this environment every day. It does change, but this did not happen overnight. It definitely took some time. As you embark on enhancing your naturalized outdoor learning environment for infants and young toddlers, I want to make sure that you have many tools in your toolbox if you don't have some already. I want to point out some wonderful resources that we at Equip strongly recommend. This book by Dr. Kraft, Dr. Kraft's Active Play, is a fantastic resource. It even comes with a DVD with video clips. It's a great resource for your entire program, regardless of the ages you serve, and there's wonderful images for our family child care homes, so there's images and video clips in multi-age settings as well, but this is great for infants all the way up through school age. And it's really around engagement for physical development, fun and play, and all of the materials are things that you have around your program or your house and are easily purchased at dollar stores. That's that type of thing, inexpensive. So just keeping in mind, observe children's behavior, see what they're interested in, and follow their lead. Reminders to expose infants to new sensory experiences, and make sure you have many good resources to give you some ideas. I have the pleasure to see many activities implemented in programs, and these are some activities that can help keep exposure to natural items safe for young children. We know that children, particularly 0 under 3, like to put things in their mouth, and that's just how they explore their environment. So these are some ways to do that safely. There's a tin on the left with some moss with a magnifying glass. Then you can use containers to put natural items in. The thing about natural items is that they are fragile and small pieces can be broken off, potentially making them choking hazards. So how we have those freely accessible to infants and young toddlers, we have to be very thoughtful. I love the idea of putting the rosemary or herbs in an old spice container, and that way they can see it, and then they can hold it, and they can also smell it and experience it. Now, if you are having a one-on-one experience, then you can certainly have those herbs, and the children can actually hold them in their hands and experience that. But if you want to have some materials out that are freely accessible without very close supervision, here's some ideas of how you can make that work. The third picture from the right is there's just some beautiful flowers that were in bloom at the time, put in, it looks like, like a cup that has a lid and turned upside down. And so children can look at that and study it And then, of course, seashells are great to have the really sturdy, larger size seashells that are unlikely to be broken easily. Here are some gardening experiences. The picture on the left is a family child care home. They are doing some gardening, some planting on a small scale with planting some seeds in dirt in a cup to start some seedlings. So that'll be a fun process to watch, and this child's having a good time. On the right, here's gardening with toddlers on a larger scale with a raised bed, but notice that the raised bed is still low and it's toddler height. Just perfect for this young toddler or even infants to be able to get into the dirt and experience that process. I recently observed in a program, and they did seed planting inside, and just such a wonderful experience. And then they took the children outside and had some dirt in a raised planter and just let the children play in the dirt. So what a great way to extend indoor activities outside for that group of toddlers. And just look how sweet this is. Those sweet little hands experiencing planting seeds into flowers. And I'm eager to see, as I go back and visit this classroom, what the teachers will do once those seeds start sprouting, and what sort of fun activities and engagement and interactions that they will have with this group of very young toddlers in this planting activity. I imagine that this will be in the classroom, and they'll be able to bring this out and have probably daily or almost daily conversations about what's happening, how these seeds are actually growing and turning into seedlings and eventually flowers. Excited to see it. This is a great example of the image on the left of intentionally and presenting natural items in a more contained way for infants to experience, allowing the adult to be close by to supervise. And then if there is no longer any interest, those bins can be pulled away or lids can be placed on the bins as needed. But it's a protected way for children to explore nature, compared to the right, where there's nature just in the environment. And so there's safe, natural plantings, and this young toddler can explore the world on his own. Of course, he's gonna, always be within sight and sound of the caregivers. They're gonna be supervising him well, but he is able to see how his environment changes over time. So great comparison on how we can expose children to nature and enhance our nature-based learning through the environment, and then those intentional activities and settings that we create for children. This is our model outdoor learning environment in Guilford County. In this program, children spend a significant amount of time outside, from the infants all the way up through preschool. And on the left, they are outside, children get dirty, they have lots of exposure to nature. And in every single age group, they spend time planting, gardening, playing in the dirt, learning about insects, learning about birds, learning about different creatures and critters that they find along the way. And then on the right, you can see the preschool group up through 5-year-olds and the gardens that they work on. So regardless if it's spring and summer and everything's in bloom, or if it's in the dead of winter, there's many things for them to do. And by the time the children complete this program, they have really had a very enriching experience in the out of doors with lots of physical activity and nature. I hope you enjoyed this presentation about truly inspiring outdoor learning environments for infants. It was my pleasure to take these pictures, or many of these pictures, spend time in these environments and get to know the adults who have created these spaces. So just summarizing everything, here are all the truths to be a truly inspiring environment. And circling back to that original quote we can choose to design spaces for miracles and not minimums. So let's push beyond those minimums. The minimums are important. We want to keep children safe and healthy. It's a great starting space, but let's push those boundaries. Let's get outside the four walls that we're in, inside, and turn this inside generation to an outdoorsy, loving, nature-loving group of children who turn into nature-loving adults. Babies can play outside during all 4 seasons. Non-mobile babies need gross motor equipment and space for free movement. Supervision and staff engagement equals fun and learning. Little ones have so much to gain from experiences with water, dirt, and mud. Taking infants and toddlers outside daily, it requires teamwork at the program level and often an extra set of hands to make it happen consistently. Gross motor equipment for infants and toddlers really can be inexpensive. Find typical things around the house or classroom settings. It doesn't have to be expensive, and it can be wonderful. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at Equip. We are more than happy. We have an outdoor learning specialist who can come give guidance for our approach to guiding healthy behaviors, and most of us at Equipped are happy to spend time in your outdoor learning environment or engage with you on classroom experiences, lesson planning, preparing for assessments, whatever it may be. We are here to help. Thank you so much. Thank you for viewing this video training by Equipped. Scan the QR code on the right to read more about our organization and how you might connect with Equipped. After this video plays, please complete the evaluation and your certificate will appear, and you will also be emailed a certificate. Contact us if you have any issues. Thank you so much, and we appreciate and thank you for what you do for young children in our community.